me?
Absolutely. So I was just telling everyone, this is for my human behaviors in the social environment class. You and Ariel both being school teachers, especially in the midst of this pandemic. Jen, school social worker in the midst of this pandemic. So I wanted to include you in a panel discussion to talk about your experience, because I personally don't have that firsthand experience in the school system, although I do have experience working with children. So right now, my students are learning about those specific milestones, those specific developmental tasks. I know I sent you all some questions, some prompts to kind of get your minds, working a little bit. But any feedback, any advice, any insight that you have to add to the questions, please share it, because my students need it. Especially now since we're not in a classroom setting, because otherwise I would have had you all come to my classroom.
I would have really wanted to.
I know, and Ariel and Driana are both alums of Westchester University, so they were super ecstatic to come to my class and talk to everyone and see the difference in the campus for sure. If you haven't been there in a few years, but to thank you all for participating, I was just saying I do want to send you all Amazon gift cards. So please make sure. Sure. Everybody loves Amazon.
I'll be tearing it up. Love it.
Amazon and Walmart, right? Or the dollar store or grocery store.
All of the above.
All those essential places. But anyway, to get started, as you all know, I am Angela Banks. I teach at Westchester University in the social work department. So I do want you all to introduce yourselves, so that my class has an idea of who is talking to them right now. So Ariel, would you like to start?
Yes. Okay. My name is Ariel Kelly. I have a bachelor's degree in English and a master's degree in early childhood education. I graduated from Westchester University in 2010, and I graduated at Grand Canyon University, which is online, in 2016 with my master's in early childhood education. And I've been working with children for 11 years.
What are you doing now? What's your profession?
Okay. So my profession right now is a kindergarten teacher at a charter school. I've been there for almost 4 years now. And prior to teaching kindergarten, I was a pre-K teacher for 2 years, working under the school district of Philadelphia.
Thank you for being here and for sharing.
Thank you for having me.
Jen, would you like to go next?
Sure. My name is Jen Marshall. I am a school social worker in the Owen J. Roberts School District. I have been there for 20 years. My bachelor's is in psychology and special education. I got that at York College of Pennsylvania, in York, Pennsylvania, in 1999. And my master's is in social work from the University of Pennsylvania with a concentration on school social work. I have my home and school visitors through Pennsylvania Department of Education. Graduated there in 2001 and went straight from graduation to ONJ. Been there ever since, so this is my 20th school year. And I'm currently working on my DSW, Doctor of Social Work, in the hopes of teaching the next generation of school social workers. And I will defend my dissertation in March. So
congratulations.
Lots of work going on. My dissertation is on the awareness and value placed upon the role and function of school social workers, a study of Pennsylvania public school administrators.
Thank you. And thank you for your contribution to this field, especially during this time. I caught Jen walking around Park Springs where I'm doing my PhD research, and I'm like, hey, you're a social worker? And oddly enough, Jen was actually the social worker when my brother was actually attending elementary school. So that just shows you how far back Jen goes. So thank you for being here again. And last but certainly not least, Driana.
Patty, thank you so much for having me. And I just want to say already, pardon me, my dog is like going crazy in the background, so I'm just going to mute myself when I'm not talking because I know he's going crazy. But I'm Driana Jones, and I didn't even know that Ariel also taught kindergarten. I'm a kindergarten teacher. Yeah, it's a small world. I also graduated from Westchester in 2012 with a bachelor in elementary education, and then again in 2016 with a master's in special education with a concentration in autism. This will be my 9th year teaching. My 4th school districts I've taught in Upper Dublin, Abington, Norristown, and now I'm in Hatfield Horsham. And coincidentally, I taught kindergarten in all 4 school districts. So a lot of experience in kindergarten, also with very different populations, in urban populations and in more suburban, more affluent areas. So yeah, I'm just excited to hear what you all have to share. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna pull up my questions so we can hop right into it. So I'm going to work backwards, Driana. So the first question you'll answer first.
Okay.
So what made you decide to work with children in a school setting?
So it's really hard for me to answer that question because I've wanted to be a teacher literally my entire life. My mom said I used to line up my dolls and teach them. When I was in school, I don't know why my friends would let me, but they would let me like teach them on the side. I would like write out little report cards, and I was just always that teacher girl. I think that a turning point for me was when I was in elementary school. I attended Ivy Leaf. I think the environment, it was a very Afro-centered school. And so I think the environment of teachers that looked like me, that represented my community, really impacted me. And I think that it inspired me really to kind of pursue it as a profession. And so everything that I've done since elementary school has kind of been geared around students and youth and children and educating. I was always, summer camp counselor or, cheer coach or something like that. So I don't know, it's just something deeply ingrained in me. My grandmother also worked in the schools. She was like a homeschool coordinator. I don't even know if they have those positions now, but back in the day, she would basically make home visits. She was like a social worker before the school. She would make home visits and kind of check and make sure everything was okay. So it's just something that's kind of been in me for a long time. And I've just been very blessed to be able to pursue it in the linear way that I have. So
That's awesome. Do you plan on going back to school further? Maybe, maybe not.
You are not the first person to ask me that question. It's tough. Right now, it's a hard no for me. Just thinking about the commitment that I put into that master's and seeing the people around me and my peers and my colleagues and my administrators get their doctorate and things like that. I'm like, you know what? I'm okay. I personally want to stay in the classroom. I don't want to be an administrator. I love working with students. I love making lessons. I love being creative. I love that interaction. I don't want to work with adults. I really like the babies.
Right now, thank you for your honesty.
Right now, I'm just like, you know what? Nope, I'm really, really happy with what I'm doing. So,
all right, we'll see it in the next year. We'll see if the conversation is different.
Okay, because right now, well, but then again, administration during pandemic is like a whole nother level.
Oh,
so
we'll get into that.
I'm happy right where I am.
Work on that. Jen, how about you?
So I've always been drawn to children. I was a babysitter. I was the one that in the park would always organize the games and things like that. But I knew I didn't want to be a teacher. I knew that standing in front of a classroom of 25 kids, I would try to find a way to teach each of those 25 kids the way that they would learn best, and I would lose my mind. I always wanted to support the teachers and how to do that. And I had an amazing professor at York, Dr. Mary Kay Reed, who sat me down one day and she's like, we need to figure out what that is. You just can't keep saying, I want to support the teachers, because that could mean anything. So her and I had talked early on when I started my undergrad program that this was not going to be the end all be all for me, that I wanted to go straight into a master's program because I knew graduating, I could get a job working in a daycare and be so excited to just be making money that I would never have pushed myself further. So she started looking at master's programs for me, and she found the description of Pitt's Home and School Visitor Certificate program. And she read it and she's like, doesn't that sound better than saying you just want to support the teachers? And so I applied to Pitt, and that's kind of how I found my way to school social work. When I did my internship for the Home and School Visitor Certificate, you do a year-long full-time internship in a school district. So I was placed in with an elementary school social worker, and she was responsible for 8 elementary schools. So every week we kind of rotated where we were, and I knew that she could make a bigger impact if she wasn't rotating through all 8 elementary schools, you know, in 8 days. And I wanted to find a position where I could be in one building and making an impact to the students in that building. So that's kind of how I found my way there. I think it started with, you know, my parents, we went to a summer swimming pool, and all the kids I would organize these huge games of sharks and minnows, but I never wanted to be in charge of them. I just wanted to get them organized and then play. And it started there, and it ended, well, one of the major ways that it ended was that description of what a school social worker does, and the certificate program at the University of Pittsburgh is how I got to where I am.
Thank you so much for sharing, because there are, you know, social work type positions that support teachers with TSS positions. So that just takes it to another level. I do have a question. Approximately how many students do you think she was in charge of within those 8 schools total?
So I would say there was about 500 kids in each of the buildings. Now she had a specific caseload. When we went to those buildings, we would, you know, be checking in on specific students. Referrals were made due to attendance. Referrals were made due to, you know, some home issues that the school had found out about. So I wouldn't say that at any given time she had the 4,000 students on her caseload list, but at any given time, any one of those 4,000 students could have been raised to the level of need that she had to intervene.
Right.
I would say we probably in each building would do between 25 and 50 check-ins per week. So, you know, 25 to 50 check-ins across 8 buildings. Now, the district, some elementaries had a bigger need than others. Other elementary schools, just based on their demographics, didn't have as much need for social work. So some were lower, like at 20, 25, and then others were much higher at 50. So we never had the same day twice. And leaving that internship, I said that as a school social worker, you never have the same day twice. And this is my 20th year, and I've never had the same day twice.
Probably even more so now.
So, and the other thing I have learned from that internship moving into my career is the best laid plans never get done. When you go into a day and you have that set schedule for the day, I'm going to go in, I'm going to see this group and this student and this student. That is the day that there is some crisis that wasn't even on your radar last week. So flexibility.
Oh man, Jen, you're telling all the secrets. No, but that's absolutely true. Go in with the plan and people will laugh at you.
Oh yeah.
Yes, but thank you for sharing. Aria, how about you? Got you involved into this whole school?
Well, my story is a little bit different. I did not know that I wanted to work with kids going into college. My bachelor's degree is in English, and it has nothing really to do with children. So when I was a sophomore at Westchester, I was enrolled in a work study program where they assigned me to the Children's Center on campus. And initially I was a little hesitant. I was scared of children. I'm like, I don't know what to do, like what to say to them, but I completely fell in love. That's where it started. That's where my passion came from, is working on campus at Westchester. And ever since then, I said, you know what, I'm going to start working with kids. So I tried to switch my major in the middle, and they told me I had to stay for an extra 2 years. So I said, okay, I'm just going to get my bachelor's in English and then go back for my master's in early childhood education, which I did. After I graduated from Westchester, I started working at daycare centers just to, get more experience with working in kids in that field. Because I said, okay, I want to work with pre-K kids. I like them. They're small. They're not like too mouthy, but it's fun. I think it's more fun to work with that age. So that's what I did for 2 years for the School District of Philadelphia. I did pre-K, and then, before I did pre-K, I worked at a daycare center for 5 years, and it was an amazing experience, but I just wanted more. I feel like for kids in Philadelphia, they need a quality, passionate teacher, and that's what I wanted to give back to my community. I was in the Philadelphia School District, and I know the experience firsthand of how students lack the education and teachers lack that passion, and I wanted to be a part of that change. To me, honestly, I feel like a lot of the teachers still lack the passion because of the test scores and the outcomes that children have coming from the schools in Philadelphia. But all in all, I got my passion from working with kids at Westchester, and I'm just in love with working with kids, especially the kindergarten. I tell my my coworkers that I would never go higher. Kindergarten is where it's at. I like
Yeah.
that the babies are where it's at.
The babies are where it's at.
That's why I needed y'all, because I'm like, give me all the teenagers. Give me the teenagers. I'll take them. They're fun.
And when I
love it.
I do like extracurricular activities with the older students, and only for an hour and a half. And we actually do it now virtually. We're doing yoga club and just dance club with not teenagers, but it's 7th and 8th graders. And I'm like, I can't. those 7th and 8th graders, I'm like, all right, it is time to end this session. We'll go on to the next. And then that Monday morning, 8:30 with my kids, I'm like, hey guys, I missed you so much. And they're just like, they love that teacher's attention. They're so engaged. They listen to you. Anything you have to say, they're like spot on. But there are some, there's a little bit of students who, you just gotta give them more love, more attention.
And we'll get to that, because I have a question, and think about it as we ask the other questions. How do you give those students who need that extra love and attention right now? What does that look like? Because I'm sure you can pinpoint them in your Zoom calls. What does that look like? But I'm going to ask the next question. And it kind of will tie into that. So what childhood developmental milestones do you witness personally while you're engaging with students? Or do you see a difference from the first time you started engaging with students to now? And are those milestones where you expect the children to be? You can think about that in the context of now, or throughout your history of teaching, or compare and contrast if you like. But Jen, would you like to go first?
Sure. I think the one thing for me, the milestone that I see most frequently, elementary for O&J is K through 6. So I always say when they're taller than me, they're ready to go. But one of the milestones, and it can happen with the kindergarten babies, it can even happen with our 6th graders, is that they learn that they can be cared for and supported outside of the home. And the school is the first time some of these kiddos are making that connection and that step, that it doesn't have to be my mom taking care of my boo-boo. It doesn't have to be my mom that's helping me with something. There's other people, and it's almost like I watch their social circle expand to that next level outside of the home. For some students, the first time is kindergarten. And for some students who aren't real trusting, or there's some challenges there that may occur, 2nd grade, 3rd grade. Sometimes it's as late as 6 that they really find another adult that will be their person, their go-to. And to watch that happen, in talking and working with students and families, the names start coming up more and more often. Mrs. So-and-so. Well, you called Mrs. So-and-so, or, Johnny asked Mrs. So-and-so the question, or, Mrs. So-and-so said, and you start hearing the name more and more, both from the family and both from the student, and then it happened. And I always say, I don't care who it happened with. If it happened with the secretary that greets them in the morning, if it happened at the woman who serving them lunch, or if it happened with their classroom teacher, it shows that they are having another connection outside of the home. And that to me is the biggest milestone I get to see outside of the classroom, not being a classroom teacher, but it's huge. It's huge to see.
That's super huge because I can still recall my third grade teacher's name, my fifth grade teacher's name, and the things that they said to me that allowed me to remember them. I remember Miss Hadutsky was my fifth grade teacher, and she told my mom during the parent-teacher conference, Angela doesn't talk enough. I want her to use her voice. And my mom said that was probably one of the worst things she could have said. After that, I never stopped
that's
talking.
not the Angela I know.
And I will always remember that teacher for that very reason. But yes, that's very important. Gianna, did you want to go next?
Sure, definitely. I think just like Ariel, one of the reasons I love kindergarten is just they're literally coming in babies. I personally think of all the grades in the school setting, kindergarten has the largest like developmental like jump. And how you see them in September is not the kids that you're sending to first grade in June. I mean, it is such an amazing time, and I think I just love being a part of that learning explosion. So I think the biggest thing that I notice developmentally for my students is that toddlers and that right before school age is a very self-centered, the world is revolving around you and everything, the schedule, everything is about you. And so when they're coming into kindergarten, I think what's different from preschool, and I don't know if Ariel, you can attest to this, kindergarten is a much more structured environment. It's like their first introduction to school. I think it's the first introduction to there are expectations of you. We are expecting you to perform not only academically, but also socially. We're expecting you to perform with your peers. We're expecting you to perform, like Jen said, with adults. And so it's the first time I see them realizing, oh, wow, there's things going on around me. You know what I mean? That have nothing to do with me. And what I love about what I think a lot of schools are doing right now is teaching that social emotional connection. So not only am I here to learn, but I'm also here to learn how to be social, how to understand other people's feelings, how to be empathetic, how to assert myself, but still be respectful. And I think, especially in this climate, understanding that we are all different. We are all unique. We all have something different to bring to the table. And so I think that is a challenge in a beautiful way for my students is coming to school and it's like, wow, like Jen said, their circle literally expands in front of your eyes. And so I love just facilitating that in a very intentional and purposeful way. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's all I have to say.
I just love your excitement.
Like
and I was going to ask, well, how do you maintain that with the virtual climate? But I can see that you have no issues maintaining that level of excitement because I saw it in your eyes.
I have issues. I know. So virtually was a challenge for me. I'm gonna be honest. I had multiple panic attacks over the summer, just trying to even comprehend what this is about to look like. As you can see, I'm very personable. I'm very charismatic. I'd like to be with my students. I'd like to interact with them. I'd like to get them excited about learning. So I was like, how in the world am I going to do that through an iPad? In our school district, the kindergarten's got iPads. So I'm like, how am I going to do it through an iPad? And so I was just like, well, what are the things in school that motivate them? Like for the kid who isn't excited about coming to kindergarten, what's something that motivates them? I do something called Scholar Dollars. So, and I'm gonna try to make this really short, but in my classroom, my students are scholars and I teach them a scholar is a lifelong learner. So we're star scholars, we're always learning. So I reward you for having a good attitude, for learning something new, but by giving you these Scholar Dollars. And at the end of the week, you get to cash them in for prizes. And I'm telling you, they go crazy over these dollar store prizes. I mean, they go bananas. And what I find is I used to have all these complicated systems and, you know, colors and things, and my principal made us get rid of them. And I was kind of glad because this just really allowed me, like you said, to give the kids in the extra love. They're going to get extra love. I have kids that have $50 in their bank account. Why? Because they might need that extra motivation, and their prizes might be different. So I think it's finding what motivates them and making it work. So for the virtual setting, I was like, how can I kind of still reward them and have them kind of earning things and working towards something, but me not being able to actually give it to them. So I kind of did my research. I Googled, I asked, you know, other, you know, colleagues. And so I came up with a card that actually we sent home, but a card where you earn points. And then when you fill up your card, you get these prizes. You can wear a cool hat, you can do show and tell, you can bring your pet to class and like show off your pet. And then there's this one prize, which I'm already regretting, which is called the Miss Jones Drive-By. And basically I drive by your house with like some treats, basically from the dollar store. Girl, they are killing this drive-by.
How much is that prize?
These last 2 Fridays, I have been driving by and dropping them off, but it's been making such a wonderful connection. The kids are so excited. I had to cut it to 1 drive-by per, you know, cycle or whatever. But and then I have Miss Jones lunch, so they get to spend lunch with me. So I think it's making those connections that are not academic, because if they don't like you, they're not going to learn from you. If they don't trust you, they're not going to try. So for me, it's like, I'm not saying you have to like me, but I'm saying I want you to know that I'm invested in you as a person, so that when we get to those challenges academically, I can push you because you know I love you, you know I care. And you know that if anything, you're going to get a treat. So let's try it.
Or a drive-by.
Or a drive-by. But if something motivates you, at least do it so I can give you a treat. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's kind of how I've been doing it. And actually, I was nervous about meeting the kids online. They have been loving it. They've really been loving it. So yeah, I'm excited.
I can't wait till you're an administrator. That's going to be beautiful.
Oh my God!
You just sound like an administrator. I'm not sorry. I'm just going to say it. Ariel,
I can't.
Well, you got to listen at some point. I see Gianna on social media, and I see the wonderful things that she's doing with her class and the resources that she's sharing. Ariel started growing your own kindergarten Instagram page, and these are ultimately just resources that I can see parents utilizing, because parents were not prepared for this shift as much as you guys were not prepared for this shift, and probably in many ways are still not prepared. Just waiting for kids to go back to school. So, yes. Ariel, would you like to answer? I'm actually going to turn on my lights while you're talking too.
Oh, sure. Yes, it is getting dark outside. So, you know, teachers will have students that come from a pre-K background, a daycare background, or no schooling at all while entering kindergarten. And therefore, children can enter kindergarten on all types of different levels, considering their speech development, fine and gross motor skills, their academics, and social and emotional growth. And it's so much more than that. So children can also just develop and enhance these skills while in kindergarten if given the opportunity that is available and practice effectively. Virtually, I can say that I basically put on a show. Sometimes I am a very quiet person. I like to say to myself, but when it's like I'm an actress, when the camera is on, I put on a show. I am like, all right, guys, this is what we're doing today. And like my administrators, they pop in just to see how my day is going. And they're like messaging me in the Zoom chat saying, wow, you're doing an awesome job. You're dancing with the videos. And I'm like, yes, I have a pet in my classroom. It's a puppet owl. And I use him to engage the kids because, of course, if they see a stuffed animal, they're like this. Hooked. Right? So they are staring at the camera. I'm like, all right, repeat after echo. He's gonna talk to you guys, and they're like talking to him, and he looks so real that they think he's a real owl. But I say, you know, he's not real. So a way that I engage the students is I do a daily check-in every morning with my kids. So basically, I have become like a Bitmoji queen, and my Google Classroom is all Bitmoji, and I have like happy face, sad face, angry face, sick or sleepy, or you could, like, the parents can type in other, how the child is feeling. After our live session, I have a small group that I see every day. Well, it's all the kids I see every day, but it's only for about 5 minutes. I do a daily check-in with them, and I talk about how they felt that day prior to our other instruction that we have at the end of the day. So what we do is I go to their page where they fill out the form, and I said, okay, well, so-and-so, you said that you felt sad. Would you like to talk about that? And then, it's up to them whether they want to talk about it or not. And sometimes, like, we'll draw pictures together on their whiteboard just to, get them to talk a little bit more. I have some that are excited. I have like an excited emoji, and they like, I'm excited because I love kindergarten and you're an awesome teacher and I love learning. And I'm like, okay, well, we're gonna draw a picture, and it's like, I love you. And it's like, they're doing the heart symbol. I'm like, you guys are so tech savvy already. And, when we get in the classroom, I'm hoping to get in the classroom by January, but I want to continue that with my kids, to check in with them every morning, not, on a Google Classroom form, but, face-to-face contact. I did that before, but it was like a chart paper, and they would like write on their sticky note a happy face, sad face, and stick it under their name. And then I would check in with those students who needed, that extra support, why they wanted to talk to the teacher, see what was going on with them. But kindergarten, it's definitely a gap between kindergarten and the higher grades. Like Juliana said, there is a huge, like, from kindergarten September, they're babies, literally. Some of them do not know much, and they have to learn all of what they need to learn by the first grade, and that goes along with the social and emotional. And I just want to talk a little bit about that, because that's something that I stressed this year with administration, because I felt like there was so much instructional time, and for 5 and 6 year olds, they need that interaction with each other. So they only have 15 minutes per day to do what is called playtime at my school. And I told them that's not enough time for them to actually engage and play with each other. Recess is a whole different story. They're running around trying to get their energy out. They need some structured playtime inside of the classroom where they can get to know each other and they can talk to one another and build those relationships. And what is it? I'm trying to think of the word. But basically, what is it?
Interpersonal skills.
Yeah, interpersonal skills and conflict resolution skills. I know that's a big one, right? So I'm like, you guys need to work on this, how we can fit this in our schedule, because it's not going to be reading, writing, math, recess, lunch. No, we need to build this in our schedule so that they can have that social and emotional. And this is what relates to, this is what happens when a lot of the kids don't have that structured playtime. The behaviors come out. They don't know how to deal with their behaviors because they don't have that time in the classroom to build their, like you said, their interpersonal skills. So we need to build in some of that time. So last year was the first year that they actually built in 30 minutes per day for kindergarten, and they actually moved it up into first and second grade. Not 30 minutes, of course, for them, because first and second grade is a whole different world than kindergarten. But I'm just glad that they did that, because our kids need that time in kindergarten especially.
Thank you for sharing that. You said a lot, and I'm going to stick with you. No, because it leads into the next question, because you talked about a little bit in how you're tracking that now, how you're ensuring that now. Have you noticed the shift in how you're tracking those milestones now versus before? And do you think that they're effective in their tracking? Look at Juliana's face, looks so sad.
Because are you tracking them at all? Because I'm sitting over here like.
Listen, so Zoom is a very difficult platform to track students' behavior, even academically, because we don't want the children to be on the Zoom call for 5 hours a day. My kindergarten students are only allowed to be on a live session for 2 hours and 45 minutes with breaks in between. So with that being said, if you're going to see a behavior, you're going to see a behavior. You know what I mean? I have one student with an IEP, and we definitely see his behavior. I have a teacher assistant, so she kind of helps me out with getting him back on track and, you know, helping him.
Virtually?
I'm sorry, yes.
Wow.
So you can do on Zoom, you can do like a private breakout room, and you can check in with that student, and he'll tell us, like, he's had an IEP and he has a TSS worker, and I think he's familiar with like having those breaks. So he'll unmute himself and say, I need a break. And I noticed that he really likes attention. So of course he calls himself Super and then his name. So I call him Super, and he loves it. That's his attention. That's what attention I give him, and that's what he responds to. So every time I see him, like, you know, getting a little bit distracted, Super, and he's like looking, I'm like, you are focusing on me right now. Give me a thumbs up, you know, trying to bring him back in, because he will drift off. Academically, I pull small groups in the afternoon, just like I mentioned. So after the daily check-in, I have 2 other groups that I see, 4 to 3 kids per group. And then I assess them. We go over, you know, their alphabet and letter sounds, and we review math. We absolutely have to do reading every single day. But I also did want to mention, so for the assessments prior to kindergarten, we do a kindergarten readiness test in the summertime. It assesses all of the kindergarten students prior to coming into kindergarten. And it basically, you know, it's a test that tests their alphabet knowledge, number recognition, shapes, colors. And this year, because we have a lower school counselor now, she put in that social and emotional piece. So we would ask the students, well, how would you react if someone did this to you? What would you say? So if we're not just focusing on the academics, oh, we need to, you know, make a plan for these students. We also want to have a plan for the students who need that extra support with their behavior as well. So I already have a student who needs additional support for behavior that we already talked about in kindergarten, the kindergarten readiness test. But as far as now, we're still in the works of trying to get the kids assessed, not one-on-one, but in their small group, to see where their levels are. Because the first 3 weeks was just, this is how you do Zoom, this is how you mute and unmute yourself. So we're a little bit behind on, you know, our traditional way of teaching in September, but we're working it out. We're going to get there eventually.
Just hope you don't get there and then they open up the schools again. And it's like,
we're opening up in January.
Oh,
we're going to hybrid.
That's what they say now.
I know.
How you got so excited, and I'm so excited you got excited, especially a school social worker, because I'm sure you're like, that's my jam right there. So what's your thoughts?
Well, so I've seen the extremes. Going virtual, I definitely have seen the bad side, both negative ends. The first one is a short story. I'll keep it short, I promise. I was doing work with a 6th grade girl last spring, and she would come in most mornings, and she would walk from the bus to my office, and she would slam my door, and she would let go of everything that was going on at home. You know, and she knew that my office was a safe place, that she could curse whatever she needed to do to get it out, so that she could go be a 6th grade student. And her teacher knew that. Her teacher said, you know, stop in, check in with Miss Jen, and then come see me. You know, Jen, if she's absent, just let me know so I can keep attendance. And when we went virtual, I felt like she lost that ability. And my principal's like, Jen, you need to continue to connect with her like this. She needs you. She needs to be able to do that so that she can be a 6th grader. So I would try Zoom sessions with her. And just like the 4 of us here, you see this much of their world. So how are things? Fine. Your face doesn't look fine. Are you telling me everything? What aren't you telling me? And you would watch her eyes try to tell you more than she could say. And then I started to get emails from her, and everyone was like, good, she's communicating with you, Jen, she's using it. I didn't feel confident that the emails were coming from her. So I was very careful and guarded in what I responded back. And I never really sought out information. I just kind of, took the information in, thanked her, praised her, encouraged her, told her, that assignment that's due on Friday, I know you're going to do a great job on it. You've been, you're preparing for it. And I felt like I lost her because she didn't have the confidentiality that my office provided her, and she didn't have that safe space. But so that was the one end. Now that we're back in the fall and we kind of have a much more structured program, what I'm now seeing is we're seeing much further into students' homes than we've ever seen before. And we are seeing some things that we never knew went on in homes before. And we're also seeing parents under a great deal of stress trying to manage their work from home job and 2 to 3 learners at home. And we're seeing, and for lack of a better description, we are seeing parent temper tantrums. And our teachers aren't equipped to know how to handle that. We've had some inappropriate language from parents on Zoom meetings where other students and other parents have heard it. And if the little kiddo was sitting in, Mrs. Brown's classroom, it never would have happened. And so now we're in this whole uncharted territory with how far does our reach go? And where our reach was kind of stifled in some cases, that I was not able to have an open and honest conversation with this 6th grade girl who needed to unload before she could be a 6th grader and write the beautiful writings that I knew she could do. Now our reach is almost going too far. I'm a parent of a 10-year-old, and please do not put a camera on me at some of my worst moments. You will hear language come out of me too. And unfortunately, we're seeing that. And we're not sure what to do with it. We're not sure. So teachers are coming and saying, Jen, Sally's mom, she said some horrible things to Sally today during class, and I don't think she knew she wasn't muted. And, Sally's in charge of the muting. So what do we do? So we're having some very uncomfortable conversations with parents because we're seeing more into their world than we've ever seen before. So, we're seeing both ends of it, that we're struggling to reach students, but we're also seeing way too much as a school. Before, our boundaries kind of were, we'll help you if you ask for it, and we'll try to help you if you don't, but that's all we can do. And now we're seeing dirty dishes, disheveled homes with pretty put together kids that we didn't have those concerns about before.
You hit a lot of points, especially with both of you being, Driana and Ariel being school teachers, and Jen, you being a social worker. We're all mandated reporters. Mm-hmm. So when we see those things, when we might experience those things firsthand, we have to make that call, that assessment of if that child is safe. And now I know with myself having previous experience in child welfare in Philadelphia, talking about truancy. What does truancy look like for a kindergartner that's not logging in for class every day? Is their parent okay? Is their household okay? These are the questions that, people working in the school setting are needing to ask and are needing to answer. So thank you for that for 2 reasons. One, because it's real. It's what, people can expect to experience a lot of times working in school settings, whether in a virtual setting or not. We already know when school starts back up in the fall, the child line calls go up because those supports are seeing those children that they haven't seen all summer. In the same instance, my research, my hopeful dissertation is focusing on virtual reality. I'm really hopeful, and how to implement virtual reality and helping parents engage with their children, helping to teach them, helping to not only teach them educational stuff, but cultural things. That's my focus. So I thank you immensely for sharing that. Driana, go ahead, Jen.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say that, those teachers that are saying, Jen, what do we do? One of my roles that I value the most is home visits. So I'm fortunate that in the spring, the district was very stern and you're not going to a home, you are not opening a door, you cannot do that. And when we came back in the fall, I fought very hard and said, my hands can't be tied like that again. I can't know that she's not logging in, and it's not because she can't, it's something else is happening. So my home visits have increased tenfold from what they were prior to the closure. I have now dedicated 2 days of being out of the building and in homes, and that looks like a lot of different things. A lot of times I will take whatever devices I need to get them connected and show them how to do the connections. What I've done for teachers that are really worried about kids is I'll make sure that I schedule a visit when they're live so that that teacher sees me in the home to kind of put that a little bit of the concerns rest a little bit easier, and be able to talk with the parent while the kids are occupied and say, like, what's happening? Tell me how hard this is. Tell me, and really make those stronger connections. But that is all a result of, our hands being so tied in the spring and then starting the same way in the fall, and those families feeling like, well, you didn't help me in the spring, now what are you going to do for me in the fall? So making sure that I'm as connected as possible. So we're going into our 3rd week of school. I've spent very few hours in the school building. I have spent them in the homes.
Right. Juliana, my administrator, but not really administrator.
And so I'm gonna be honest. I forgot the question because we're so deep into this discussion.
No, you're fine. The tracking
Okay.
of developmental milestones for your children.
Right. So I'm again kindergarten, so kind of along the same lines as Ariel with we do a screening at the beginning of the year. In previous districts, we did do it before the start of school. Again, looking at the phonemes, understanding the alphabet, understanding the number recognition, number sense, shapes, colors. And in one of my schools, we did do, I would just call it an observation, but we did take note on some of the social kind of cues the kids were giving off. It wasn't a very formal thing, but I do remember it kind of being a thing. My school district now does the screening during the school year. So early September, we do a benchmark screening, and then we do the assessments again throughout the year to see the progress. Virtually, it is like, to be honest with you, I think that, and I heard a quote that said, in this pandemic world of teaching and working, we should expect 40% productivity, and we're all expecting 140. So sometimes I'm like, are we assessing for the right things and having the right priorities right now in pandemic times? Because to me, kind of like Jen was saying, I don't even care if they know the alphabet. I care, are they logging in? Are they filled with anxiety? Are they able to even engage with me? Mm-hmm. So at this point, like Ariel said, we're teaching just how to learn this way. We're just teaching how to really be okay, sane in this world that we're in right now. So I don't even know what assessment looks like right now virtually. My school district, it literally has sent out a memo saying, we literally don't know what we're doing with assessment. So don't even worry about it. We're just gonna teach. Whatever happens, happens. Like literally, that's kind of where we are right now. Because like Jen said, I think this whole virtual teaching has really highlighted the gap between access that these kids have, the gap between resources that these kids have, the gap between support that these kids have. It is highlighted so much more than just academic. So I think when we think about assessment, I think about, looking at these milestones, I think we need to kind of reassess, what are we really looking at right now? You know what I mean? So that's how when Ariel was talking, my eyes were just kind of like, girl, I'm trying to hear this answer because I don't even know. Like, it's It's crazy. It really is crazy. Like I really have kids that are, and I teach in Hatfield Horsham. It's a affluent school district, 90% white, I would say. So I have students that are at home with their stay-at-home moms that don't have a job, that are able to literally sit next to them all day. Then I have kids that are first generation immigrants, coming from another country, whose parents don't speak our language, whose parents are working all day, who's sending their kids to, daycare and childcare, who don't have that support. I'm pulling out materials. I'm like, hey, pull out your whatever. And they're like, I don't even have that because I'm somewhere else every day. So it's literally, I feel so bad because it's like,
Right.
what I do through this screen right now to meet you at your need. Whereas in school, I was able to give everyone the same playing field. And it's not the same playing field. I'm able to meet you at your need. So right now, I just feel so helpless in the fact that I can't do that for you. When you came to school with no socks, I could pull out some socks for you. I could go to the store and buy you some socks. I can't do that right now when you're at home in your environment right now, with your dad behind you with no shirt on drinking a beer and you don't have on socks. Like I can't help you with that now. So when you ask that question, how do we assess those milestones? I don't know. How do we assess them in a way that is effective for us to be able to actually make a change, for us to be able to put in intervention? I don't know.
And just
and it's fair.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, y'all fine. Go ahead.
You want to go, Jen?
Oh, no, I just said we need to figure out in a way that's fair. How is it fair that, the little guy who has his mom all day and the other little guy that's at a daycare center with 25 other students all trying to do the same thing in a room where, when that little student unmutes, you hear the teacher next to him in his ear. So
right.
It's very hard because it's not, whatever we do, it's not going to be fair. It's not going to be equitable, and it's not going to be fair.
No.
Want to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to, discuss a little bit about my students and, for the school district of Philadelphia, I can say that they're trying to give students all of the things that they did have in school as far as meals. Like they're providing breakfast and lunch to these students. They have to go pick them up at the school on certain days. So, a lot of the students, they don't have food at home, or they, don't have the resources to get food in their area. So they are, helping students with that. And also that they're giving out, well, I should say they're lending Chromebooks and iPads to the students who don't have those technology devices. And also I just learned that they're giving out Wi-Fi codes from Comcast. So they are trying to support these students in, the best way possible so they can engage on Zoom. But one thing I did want to say is that you still have the parents who do
it's even
have.
Worse now.
It is. It's like, okay, you have a device. You have a device. You have the Wi-Fi code. They're still not logging on. That's a problem. And I have to mention this to my lower school counselor so she can touch base with you. And then I don't know what's going to go on from there, but it's always an issue. You know what I mean? It's always going to be something that happens or something that conflicts with you trying to give these students the best education possible given the circumstances, whether it's the whole student, the whole class, or just that one student. So, I mean, I can say that, Philadelphia is trying, but, the parents, and especially for kindergarten, the older students, like my son, he's in 4th grade, he has a Chromebook and he has internet, so he can do everything by himself. When you have the parents that are not, helping and supporting the kids, then that's the issue. Even if they're in daycare, I know a lot of talk is like the background noises, but like everyone else said, I'm happy that they're actually logged on.
Right.
They are, in their live session. I have one who's in daycare and she's doing whatever she wants to do in the background. I message mom and everything, and mom is very supportive, but mom also works. So it's not like she can come and help that child. So it's very stressful. I feel like I cannot, meet all the students' needs as I would in the classroom, and it's heartbreaking, to be honest. Like I work at school, but it's virtually, and then I come home and I'm just like reflecting, like, okay, how can I support this child's needs when they haven't logged in, or they had a death in the family, which happened recently, and they can't log in because mom's very emotional. So it's like it's a lot of factors that take place, especially in the virtual atmosphere for these young students.
I thank you all, honestly, because y'all pretty much answered all the questions in the midst of this second question. I was looking like,
Oh, sorry.
we answered that. We answered that too. But I appreciate your honesty and your transparency, especially during this time, because I find that, certain parties want to make everything look fine. We're working it out. We got it all together, and we don't. And until we accept that we don't have it all together, there's not going to be a change made in the right direction, in my personal opinion. And then listening to what all you are saying, that pretty much confirms that. So I commend you, honestly, wholeheartedly, for the
Thank
work
you.
that you guys
Thank
do,
you.
that you continue to do, doing drive-bys. Ariana, you got 2 kids at home.
Yes.
2 young
Brianna, I'm
ones.
taking it. I'm writing that down. I'm gonna start
If
doing,
you
what is it called? The dollar what is
If
it?
you give me your email, I will literally send you the whole thing I made, and you
Sure.
can
Oh
take
my
draw
goodness.
it, edit it, do whatever
I'll
you
write
want.
it. I'll
It
write
literally
it in
has
the chat.
Bitmoji on it, so I feel you.
Um,
If y'all could just conclude this session, 'cause I don't want to keep y'all all day with just, I know we talked about a lot, and it's real. That's what it is. But just words of affirmation, just words that either encourage you, keep you going, to give to your peers, your colleagues that are on this Zoom, and to give to my students, because we talk about human behaviors in a social environment. And this is what we're experiencing now with our children. We're experiencing their human behaviors in their actual environment. And as teachers, as the social work in the school, you are experiencing that now, in ways that have never been experienced before. So I appreciate you, and I really hope that people are taking this call seriously, because honestly, it's a call to enhance our education system, to really ask ourselves, what are we teaching our children? Are we just teaching our children facts? Or are we teaching them how to be constructive, critical thinking minded individuals who have a voice, who have passions, who have emotions to express, and how do they express them? But anyway, words of affirmation that you would like to leave us off with. Jen, we'll start with you.
So I'm in a unique position that students don't leave me after the year. So when the year's over, the teacher passes them on to the next grade level and they get a new group. So that milestone for me is 6th grade graduation. And our 6th grade class writes a letter of thanks. One of their final assignments in writing is a letter of thanks to somebody throughout their elementary careers. And hearing some students at the end of that 6th grade say thank you, or I'll have a parent that says to me, "Oh, Miss Shen, I want to do something for you. You've done so much for our family and you help so much." And I always say, just write me a note. Please just write me a note, because then I keep it in, I have a file in my desk, and I put all of those notes in the file in my desk. And on those days where you are defeated and repeated defeated, I get that file out before I go home, and I read a letter or 2, or sometimes 10. And I cry and I smile, and I remember that I did make a difference and I can make differences. And I come back to work the next day. And I try my best to leave it there. And if that means that defeated day, I'm reading those 10 letters, and then I get in my car and I blast the music and I wind down the windows, even in the winter, because then you run the heat. And my husband is like, "You are the most ridiculous. That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard." No, you got to wash. It's the washing of the ears and the head. And you start over the next day. And if you come in the next day and you're feeling that defeated feeling, take out that letter, take out that picture that he colored for you in 2nd grade, and keep going. So find something to hold on to and keep going.
That is beautiful.
Juliana, you want to go? You want to go next?
That was so beautiful.
Like bursting from the seams.
I literally have a box of letters and, well, for me, it's mostly pictures in the kindergarten, but I feel you. That was beautiful.
You gotta hold on to them because I pull them out more often than the kids probably even know.
I get so emotional. I'm sorry, Angie. Okay, so I guess my thing is kind of similar to that. So I guess I have a little story that goes with mine. So one thing that's been a major thing for me is bringing, for lack of a better word, some color into my classrooms. I have always been, outside of Northtown, I've always been the only Black teacher, one of the only people of color kind of like in my environment. And it's always been an interesting challenge for me because, I want to be myself, but it's like I want to bring something different for these kids. I really do. And so anyway, one of my students like 2 years ago, little blonde-haired white girl, super cute, super sweet, very nice family. One day she comes in and she has her hair like literally set it off style, cornrowed all the way back down. And her mom, she was like, I have a note for you in my bag. And her mom was like, Miss Jones, you don't understand. I stayed up all night researching on YouTube how to cornrow because my daughter wants to look just like you. She wants curly hair like you. She wants cornrows like you. She wants crochet. She's like, I don't even know what crochet is. I had to research it. She was like, I just want you to know that you've made such an impact on my daughters. And she was like, I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but we don't have any Black friends. We don't really know any Black people. And, we literally live in Horsham and we kind of live our lives here in the suburbs. And she's like, I just want you to know the impact that you've made on her as a professional Black woman, but also someone who isn't afraid to be herself, someone who, is going to encourage them to see people as who they are and accept that and see it as beautiful. And it was just a moment for me that kind of confirmed, you know what, you are in the right place. Because even though you might be the only, even though you might not be surrounded by people that look like you, you are that for somebody. You might even be that for that one Black girl that might say, wow, look at Miss Jones. She's wearing her braids to work. I can wear my braids to school, or just whatever. So I realized, even though it may not feel like I'm making a big impact every day, it's those little moments, kind of like Jen said, those little things that you have to remember. You are impacting these kids. That little girl is going to go on, and maybe 5 years from now, especially in this world, when her friend is being racist or whatever, she'll be like, you know what? That's not cool. That's not cool because I know, that they're a person and we should love them no matter. I just think that knowing I had that impact on her, it means the world to me. So that kind of keeps me in those moments where I feel like, is what I'm doing, does it really matter? Like, in this crazy world, it's a little bit of good that I'm trying to do. Does it matter? I'm like, it does matter because these kids are being impacted. Especially Ariel, catching at 5 and 6 years old. I feel like it's prime time.
Yes.
Get some of those morals in there. Some of those, like, we need to really learn how to love each other and really see the light in each other. Mm-hmm. That's important to me. So
love that part. Sorry. But even more so, we talk about the kids, but the fact that parent was able to recognize that in that child and not cut it off, but say, I want to learn, I want to teach myself so I can be able to teach my child how to navigate this. So that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Last but certainly not least.
People work in the school setting for a reason, and if you want to be an educator, I feel as though you have to be passionate about it, and you can't lose sight of that. Working in this field, it's so easy to lose sight of that. There's so many things that can interrupt your passion, and I work also with predominantly an all-white staff, but the majority of the students are African American. So I can relate to them a lot more because I am, I come from a similar background than they do. And, although my colleagues look at me, some of them may look at me as if I'm not of quality. I have witnessed that. Yes, I have. But that would make you lose sight of, okay, I don't think I want to do this anymore just because they feel as though your ideas are not valuable. but it will be difficult, and sometimes you may cry. I have went home crying so many times, even off of like, I don't think that I'm meeting another student's need. But if you have the passion and you have, that drive, then you will continue to, be beneficial for yourself, and then that will be relayed to the student. So that's all.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Brianna just makes me smile. Just
You are enough. Like everything that you do is enough. Like I'm spiritual, and I just feel like God gave you that gift for that moment. You are enough. You are so bomb.
Thank you.
well, all y'all are enough, and I
Yes.
thank you all for participating today. I will send you the recording, so if you want to look at it, share it, whatever you want. Put it on your resume. You participate in the class discussion for a college class. I don't know.
Right. The panel discussion. Okay?
Yes, absolutely. But thank you all again. If the email that I have is fine to send your gift card to, I'll send it to that email. Thank you all for taking time out of your day, out of your week, especially on a Sunday, if you prepare to go back to work tomorrow.
We're off.
Oh wait,
We're off.
are you off?
It's you was Yom Kippur or Rosh Hashanah?
Oh, I'm not off. No, I'm not off. So, well, y'all enjoy y'all Monday. That's beautiful. Y'all get to go into your Monday, refresh, helping out college students
that's why
don't
I
have
agreed
off
to this.
tomorrow.
I have work.
Oh, that's perfect, because I had no idea.
Oh, that works perfectly.
Oh, wonderful. Look at God. So, thank you all. I'm going to end the Zoom call, but I will definitely reach out to you all in the future. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Seriously, it was awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Bye. I'm emailing you.
Bye.
Okay.